All right, welcome to Theory Thursday. It is actually Friday, the 15th of August, 2025. Today we are going to talk about major scales, major chords, minor chords, what that means. There's three scales that we're going to be using for our purposes here. First of all, the G major scale, which goes G, A, B, C, half a tone because there is no such thing as a C or a B sharp, D, E, F sharp, which is two tones, or two semitones, and then a half a step back up to G, which gives us the octave. So that's the G major scale. We have talked about the fact that E minor is the relative minor of G major. What does that mean? Well, it means that the sixth or Aeolian mode of the G major scale starts at E and gives us what we could also call the E minor scale. What does the E minor scale look like? Well, the formula for a minor scale is root, whole tone, semitone, whole tone, semitone, whole tone. That gives us a full octave. So let's look at that in E. This is the E minor scale. Root, E, whole tone, F sharp, semitone, G, whole tone A, whole tone B, semitone C, whole tone D, whole tone E. That gives us the whole octave in E minor. So that's the E minor scale. It's been said that minor scales can sound sad compared to major scales. So let's compare that to the E major scale and see if we really get that. The E major scale is going to go E, whole tone to F sharp, whole tone to G sharp, semitone to A, whole tone to B, whole tone to C sharp, whole tone to D sharp, semitone to E. I don't know that that really does sound sadder, but let's look at the chords, because that might be where the truth comes out here. Let's look at an E major chord. Let's switch to an E minor chord. There we go. That definitely does sound sadder. So let's look into what that actually means, an E major and an E minor chord. What are our notes here? Well, we've got an E string, so that's an E, that's the root. We've got second fret of the A string, so that's a B, which is what? That's the fifth. The fifth doesn't change. The fifth never changes. And all you need to form a chord are the first, the third, and the fifth. That's the formula for a major chord. So to make an E major chord, we need an E, we need a B, and we need a third. So, what is the third in the E major scale? That was G. So what is this? That. I'm sorry, G sharp. So the third in the E major scale is G sharp. The first fret of the G string is G sharp. What else do we have here? We have a B, that's the third, or that's the fifth again, which doesn't change, and an E, which is the root again. So we've got the first, the fifth, the third, the fifth again, the first again. So first, third, and fifth gives us E major. Now theory tells us that a minor chord is made by the first, the flattened third, so the third down one semitone, and the fifth. So how do we flatten the third? Well, where was the third? The third was this G sharp. What if we make that G sharp a G? And if we have the open G string with nothing fretted, that is a G. So that is our minor chord. That consists of an E, actually a couple E's, a G, the G string, a couple of B's. So that is our E minor chord. Let's look at a couple other minor chords and see what they tell us about scales. Now we know an A minor chord looks like an E major chord that's moved one set of strings towards the floor. So what's the difference between an A major and an A minor? Well, this is an A major. Which string changes? It's this string right here. The B string. B string on the second fret gives us a C sharp. B string on the first fret gives us a C. So, what does that tell us? That tells us that C sharp must be the third tone in the A major scale. Let's check our work and make sure that's true. So, that's an A, that's the root. So, second tone in that scale, going to be up a full step. So A sharp, B. So A sharp or B flat is going to be the flattened third. Wait, that's not right, that's the second. So A, B, C sharp. So the flattened third would be C, right? So what is the first fret of the B string? C, that's our A minor. Let's look at one more minor chord and see what we can figure out. So let's look at the B string. So what's our B major scale? It's going to go B, up one full tone, C sharp, up one half tone to D, up one full tone to E, up one full tone to F, up one semitone to F sharp, up one full tone to G sharp, up one full tone to A, right? Should be right. I'm sorry, to B. There we go. All right, so what is the third of B? Let's see. C sharp, D. So what is a flattened D? C sharp. So let's look at how we make a B minor chord and see what we got here. So F sharp, B, that's the root, E, not E, that's F sharp, that's the fourth of the G string, so G sharp, A sharp, B, so that's another B. And what about this? Well, that's the third of the B string, so B, C, C sharp. There we go. And down here we have another F sharp. So our work checks out. That took a lot of counting, and it will at first as you learn theory. You're going to spend a lot of time counting up strings, thinking, wait, did I miss something? That's part of the work. What have we learned? We have learned that the minor scale goes root, whole, half step, whole, half step, whole. The major scale goes root, whole step, half, whole step, half. Really, they contain the relative minor scale of a major scale is going to contain the same notes. What does that tell us? Well, that tells us that, let's say we know the E minor pentatonic in a given position. Let's take this position, for instance. that would also be all the notes of the G major pentatonic scale. Now what changes? Let's say we wanted to play it as an E minor. So we go E, G, A, that would be B, this would be that should be E again, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're back around to the 6th note, which is the first note of the next pentatonic scale. Now if we wanted to play it from G, where would we start? Well, we would start here at G. So that goes G, A, B, D, E, G. Now the pentatonic scale is derived from the major or minor scale that shares its letter. What does that mean? That means that if we start with an E major scale, there's our E major scale in that position, that all the notes of the E minor pentatonic, I'm sorry, that's G major scale, right? All right, so G major scale, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So G major scale. Now the G minor pentatonic, G, A, B, D, E, G. All right, there we go. Now let's try it with a major scale and the major pentatonic. I'm sorry, that was G major pentatonic. Let's try it with an E minor scale. I'm sorry, let's think this through here. So, G major scale position. G major pentatonic. There we go. E minor pentatonic. I'm sorry, E minor scale. E minor pentatonic. There we go. Contains all the same notes. I had to think that through a lot. I apologize for all my hesitation. Thank you for your time. Next week we're going to talk about more about the pentatonic scale, where it comes from, what notes are and are not included, and how it differs from the blues scale. Thank you very much.